Not the person that voted for Donald Trump. Not the person that didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm going to put the blame where it squarely goes. The world is dictated. The way the world goes is dictated by God's people. Let me explain that. God says in the first verse, in that one verse, in the first part, if my people, listen, God first lays claim to us, but then God also says, God first lays claim to us. Let me focus on that for a minute. God says, first of all, let me get to all of my people first.
Okay.
Ultimately, what we're talking about is healing the land. And God says, if my people, first of all, we got to determine who is God's people. Because God doesn't say everyone is his.
All right.
As a matter of fact, everybody in church ain't necessarily for God. There are some people in church just to see the show.
All right.
There are some people in church just to hear and get this emotional high, but then when they leave, they back to the way they were.
All right, come on, preacher.
The bottom line is, everybody that says they're for God ain't necessarily for God.
Come on with it.
The Bible says the road to heaven is narrow. This is a narrow road we're on. There aren't very many people traveling this road. And so to be quite honest, there are a lot of people who say, God, I know you. But when the rubber meets the road, God says, I don't know who you are.
Wow.
You say you know me, but you're not living the way you should live. You're not doing what I need you to do. There have been many occasions I find myself at work and I'm getting on the elevator with some dude that I ain't never seen before, and he's talking to me and telling me things that he knows, and it's like we buddy. He even calls me by name. I don't know who he is. But apparently he knows me. God says, if my people, let's determine who's God's people.
Okay.
First of all, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're not God's people.
Nah.
Come on, make it plain, Pastor.
If you haven't accepted the Lord as your personal Savior, you're not God's people. If you haven't made a determination that you're going to live for Christ and do all the things that Christ said to do and live the way that God said live, you're not God's people. If instead you decide, I'm only going to call on God when I need God, you might not be God's people.
Say that.
Because God's people are for God no matter what.
Yes.
God's people, even in the bad times, God's people say, it's still God.
Yes.
He still has power.
Yes.
And this situation is only temporary.
Come on here.
God's people says that whatever's going on around me, God has it all in control.
Yes.
God's people says, I'm not going to cry and go crazy about this situation. Instead, I'm going to go to God directly.
Yes.
And call on God and say, God, you know. God's people call God Daddy. Because that's what he is. So let's determine who is God's people. God says, if my people, what God means is the ones I lay claim to, those are my people.
Okay.
Not everyone in the building is my people, but the ones I lay claim to, the ones that said I can be over their lives.
Yes.
The one that gave me free will to do whatever I wanted in their lives.
Come on, Pastor.
The one that decided, God, I'm going to follow you no matter where you go. Those are the ones I recognize as my people. But he also says my people in a possessive tense, in a possessive way.
Okay.
That word possession means dominion, proprietorship, control. Y'all know what's funny? I'm going off on a tangent for a minute. This week, getting a message together has been hard. We come in here and this sound system is all jacked up. I'm having a hard time preaching to him. You think the devil don't want to get this word out?
Yeah.
Of course he doesn't. You don't want to hear it.
God says, if my people, the people that I have dominion over, the people that I have control over, not the ones who won't listen to me, not the ones who won't recognize me, who won't even acknowledge that I exist, not the ones who claim I'm not real, but the people that I know and they know me. The people that recognize my voice when I'm in the room and I have Carter. Carter always knows when his mom walks in the room. And the first thing Carter does is to find out where she at. And listen, this is what Carter does the whole time that she's in that room. He watches every step she takes. He keeps his eye on her. And I'm trying to, hey, I'm over here. But Carter don't pay no attention to me. Yeah. I'm holding him. I'm playing with him, but he ain't even paying attention to me. He's only looking at his mother. And that's what God is saying. Those people that keep their eye planted directly on me. And every move I make, every step I take, and they follow every move and step I take. Those are the ones I recognize as mine.
Amen.
The ones who are not ashamed to say that they are my children, my friend, my followers. The ones who check with me first before they do anything.
Wow.
Before they go anywhere, before they say anything. If those people, okay, we determine who those people are.
Okay.
But next he says, the people that are called by my name. By my name. Listen, when Caleb goes for a job interview, they're going to say, Caleb Brown. Brown is his surname. He's called by my name. Courtney is called by my name until she gets married. Cookie is, Daddy, I know she used to be yours, but she mine now. And that's essentially what God is saying. Every one of my children, I've given my name.
Yes.
They are children of me now. Christabel is a child of Marky. But Marky is a child of God. And so Marky has God's name. And because Marky has God's name, Marky's going to ensure that everybody in his family also has God's name. God says those people who are called by my name. Okay. It's called adoption. It's called adoption. When you are adopted, there's a show on TV right now. It's called This Is Us. Anybody watch that show?
Yes.
Yes, I know, baby. We're in the same house. And This Is Us, there's a family of triplets. They have triplets. 2 white kids and 1 black kid. And what happened was the family, and it's a white mom and a white dad, they were supposed to have triplets. One of the triplets died. There was someone who brought a black baby to the hospital, and the parents had left them at the fire station or something like that. And so instead, what the dad and mom did was, well, we lost the baby, but here is another baby. And this baby needs parents. So why don't we just take him into our family and we'll still have our triplets, right? But this baby is obviously not their child. But here's the thing about this whole family, is that once they adopted this child into their family, he never was anything separate from their family. As a matter of fact, in the show, if you watch it, you'll find out, you'll start wondering if they loved him more than they loved their natural too. That's how much they ingrained him into the family. And then you got to ask yourself, God adopted us.
Yes.
And how so did he do it? By sacrificing his own son to bring us into the family. You got to start wondering if he loved us more. You don't think so? The fact of the matter is, the love that God has for us. He adopted us into his family and gave us his name. So God says, first of all, if those who are called by me,
yes,
if those two people who claim to be my children, and I recognize them as my children, and I've already given them my name. But here's the funny part. He says they have to humble themselves.
yes,
The church must humble themselves. Let me let y'all in on a little secret. Church folks are some of the meanest, nastiest, puffed up people
yes.
I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
Because they're saved, and they know they're saved. And so, Daddy, here's the problem. They look down on everybody else that ain't saved.
Say it.
Here is a problem. If you saved, and you know you saved, Marlene, then you also know that God told you to go out and do what? Get other people. So that they can be saved too. The church has to humble themselves. They have to stop looking at people and looking down their noses at people, but instead start trying to bring those people into where they are so that God can say, these are my people too.
Yes.
Too many people have decided that they are the deciding factor in who's allowed to join
Wow.
this membership and who gets rejected.
Watch out.
Not remembering that they were once one of those that should have been rejected themselves.
Come on, yeah.
But somebody decided to talk to them and bring them in. Romans 3:23 says, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. In other words, you have sinned, I have sinned, they have sinned, he has sinned, she has sinned, we all have sinned.
Yes.
Amen.
And all of us are short of the glory of God.
Yes.
We all in the same boat. So the church has to stop lying to the world. We have to stop pretending that we are like Mary Poppins and perfect in every way. We have to stop. We have to tell the truth. We are a building full of ex-something.
You hear me?
We are a building full of ex-liars, ex-whoremongers, ex-adulterers, ex-fornicators, ex-coveters, ex-alcoholics, ex-junkies, ex-prostitutes, ex-criminals, ex-something, fill in the blank.
Wow.
And now we look at this world and we say, this world is going to hell in a handbasket. Well, guess what? We have to do our job.
Yes.
Let's continue on. Humble themselves and pray. The church, we have to be prayers. The only way the world changes is by the prayers of the righteous.
Come on, Pastor.
You don't like this world that we in, or this world has gotten to be the way it is. It's because we're not doing our job. It's because... Okay, I'm going to ask y'all a question. I don't want nobody to really answer, but I want you to think. And listen, don't throw nothing at me. When Donald Trump became president, who prayed for him? Thank you, Sister Chief. Oh, okay. We got two. I didn't. I'm sorry.
Keep it real.
Keeping it real. I didn't. But I have since learned that I have to.
Yes.
Because ultimately, Donald Trump might be the leader of this country, but God is the leader of the whole universe.
Yes.
Amen.
And so if I put God on him, then Donald Trump has to acquiesce to God's will.
Say it.
And so instead of me being upset with how he acts, or instead of me being upset with this world, if I just simply pray for the world. I know, we usually only pray about our own little bubble.
You're right.
And our own people around us.
Yeah.
But God says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, what will happen? I'm not finished. He got some more in there. But he starts off with prayer. He says, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face. What is it that God wants to do here? What is it that I want? I'm praying to God about these people, but I also have to go and seek God. I have to look for him. I have to find him. I have to make sure that the will that I'm asking for is in conjunction with the will that God has for this world. He says, seek my face. And then he says to turn. I'm sorry. Seek my face, and then he says to turn from their wicked ways. Listen, we are not without wicked ways. We are not exempt from wicked ways. Even though we are children of God, we still have wicked ways. I know I'm right about it because there are some things I do that's just not right.
Yes.
And I know they irritate God. And I say to God, I'm sorry, God. Please remove it away from me. And then I turn around and do it all over again. Until one day God finally says, that's enough. I'm going to take it. But until then, I have to keep seeking him for that forgiveness. I have to keep seeking him to turn me from my wicked ways.
Yes.
The reality is, if we could turn ourselves, we would have done it already. That's right.
Yes.
But in all actuality, it's really hard to do for us. We have to seek God to do it. So God says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, after you do all of that, my people, then
All right.
will I hear from heaven. It's at that point where God says, I can hear you now. And I will forgive their sin. And then he says, I will heal their land. The fact of the matter is, we're not doing our jobs. We're not doing our jobs. Our job is to pray for this land.
Yeah.
Pray for this world. Our job is to seek God. Our job is to go and find others who will seek God. Our job is to bring them before God. Our job is to turn from our wicked ways. And then God says, after I've done all of that, then I will hear you, and then I will forgive you. And then I will heal the land. We have no right to complain about this world. Y'all know how y'all... Okay, I'm going to confess something. Y'all remember the election with Sylvester Turner? I didn't vote. Okay, I thought y'all was going to judge me. I didn't vote because, well, my opinion was I didn't like Sylvester Turner. I ain't like Chris Bell. I ain't like none of them. So I said, either one I get, doesn't matter. I don't like them, none of them. So I didn't vote. And I said I wasn't going to vote, and people pounced on me, jumped down my throat because I said I wasn't going to vote. Well, you can't make change happen if you don't vote. That's what I heard. But I said, but I don't like none of them. So it don't really matter. They all horrible to me. So whichever one y'all pick, I'm good with. Well, you can't say nothing if something go wrong. You can't complain about what happens in the city of Houston if you didn't vote. Okay. I say that to say this. We have no right to complain about this world. If we haven't gone to God about this world. If we haven't done what God said to do to heal the land. If we haven't done what God said to do where he would hear from heaven and heal the land, then we can't complain about the land. Obviously, it ain't bad enough yet.
Wow.
The fact of the matter is we have a job to do. God said we are the salt of the earth. Here's the thing about the salt. The salt is preservation. They use salt for preservation, to preserve things. They use salt for seasoning of things. They use salt because salt is necessary. Listen, when people say meat is savory, it's savory because of salt. In other words, your food ain't good unless salt is in it. Now, too much salt can give you high blood pressure. But, okay, so she'll say that's not, no. And that's a valid point. But salt is very important to what we taste, to preservation of our food. Salt is probably the most important spice there is.
That's a good but.
And so God says we are the salt of this earth. In this melting pot of the world, we, the Christians, the people that are called by his name, we are the salt of the earth. We are the very important spice. We are what's here to preserve what is left of this world. And so God says we have a job to do. So we all sat here earlier and we said that no matter what, I'm going to do what God says do. And we said that I'm going to live the way God says live. God says go out and tell somebody about me. That's how God says. And he says live, turn from our wicked ways. He says pray and seek my face. If we say we're going to do what God says do, then we have to start right here in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. First thing we got to do is determine whether or not we're his people.
Right.
And after that, we find out we are called by his name. Tell Mr. Bell to stop being cute back there. And then after that, we have to humble ourselves and pray and seek God and turn from our wicked ways. God bless you.
God bless you.
Amen.